Tell me the stories of grace. I love to hear things I would want you to tell me while I am here. Scenes of your church life, things you have seen, stories of grace, share them with me. Oh, let me hear how these walls had shouts of praise. Tell me also of the tears that here have been laid. How has God challenged? How were you restored? Tell me the divine powers coming through these doors. Tell me in accents of wonder how you were formed. Tell how you walked with Jesus, strong and as one. How did the Master ready you to serve? Tell me, Grace Congregational, why you are church.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? I have with me Esther Swett, who is our guest today on Tell Me the Stories of Grace. You know, I love this time with church members because this is how I get oriented to the church. And I also get to meet such wonderful people. I mean, this is a large church. How else am I supposed to get a chance to meet you and have a time to see your face? So come on, be your guest, be my guest on Tell Me the Stories of Grace on the Midweek Connection so I can see what you look like. So look, this is Esther Swett. I get to see in this setting, I get to see what she looks like without her mask. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes.
Thank you, Esther, for being with me today.
You're welcome.
I really do appreciate
You're very
that.
welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.
Because I love this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, let's start out. You got to tell me, how long have you been connected to the church?
You know, I was thinking about that before I came here today, actually. And our daughter is, I better not say her age, but we lived in Mendon, and we had this little baby and a small child. I don't remember for sure exactly how old she was. And Mendon has a lovely little village church. But they didn't have any preschool or any Christian education program there. So we came here because we knew there was a strong program. And so that started our coming to Grace Church. And Dan and I are both 50-year plus members. So I'm not sure if it's 54 or 5 or what, but it's been a long time. And we've loved this church. And got involved right away. And one of the first things I remember being involved with is the crib room. We had no place for the babies. And so this dear friend of mine who lived here in Rutland also went to university, was also a nurse. And so she and I got our act together and got a crib room started. And so we would share, you know, the responsibility of that crib room. And every Sunday we would have several babies in there, young children. I don't think we took children who were much over a year or two. And so that was the beginning of my involvement here at Grace Church.
You started the crib room.
We did. And we had this beautiful set of oak, they were oak, lovely set of cribs that we had, you know, the church purchased. And so they eventually, I think those are not around anymore. I don't know where those are. But, as our children got older, that wasn't a place that I chose to help out. And so, but they had cribs. Yeah, we had cribs, and we had a couple of playpens and rocking chair and table, to change. So it was the beginning. It was great. I loved it.
So your service to the church grew as your children grew. You came with an infant child and started the crib room because you were coming to church and you needed a place for the little ones.
That's right.
So then as your children grew, what did you do?
Well, the next thing I was involved with was Don Morgan, I think, was the minister at the church at that time. He was here for years and had a beautiful wife, Grace. And I'm wondering if Grace became the name of this church because of Grace Morgan, his wife. She was lovely.
That's a good question, so I'm going to remember that.
Well, you asked Brad, because Brad, I know you know Brad, because of all the music.
Yes.
Don Morgan was a beautiful tenor soloist, and he used to sing the Messiah tenor portion of the Messiah. And Grace was just lovely. And they had, I'm trying to remember if they had a large family, one of whom is Brad, who's still here. And anyway, he left after years, but I'm sure he was still here at the time. Maybe not. Maybe it was David Dean. Anyway, we started the crib room, and I chaired a committee to start, not the crib room, but it was called Little People's School. We started the 4-year-old private, Grace Church run preschool. And Jeffrey, I mentioned to you already, Jeffrey was in the first class at the Grace preschool. Polly Wright was the first teacher, and with an assistant. She had 15 students, and it was so successful in the community that they immediately we did a second session. So
you're just phenomenal. So first you start the crib room because you have a little one.
Right.
And then you started the preschool because you had a little one.
Yes.
So the Grace Preschool is 49 years old?
49 years old. It is. And at some point along, of course I got out of all that. I was involved for many years with it, but now it's Grace, Grace Preschool, but it was Little People's School.
Little People's School.
Yeah, and it was just top notch. And we, actually ended up having 3 sessions. So we had to hire more people, and we ended up using both of those rooms for just the 4-year-old preschool. And then, things change. And I think most recently the change that has occurred to affect Grace Preschool is the providing of public education for preschool children.
Yes.
So that means
that became the competition.
That's right.
Because it was publicly funded versus privately funded. So then now it's time to take a look at what do we do.
We may have to change totally. I don't know.
We do, yeah.
But that's sad for me because I remember so much involvement with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Jack Quigg and his wife Marnie were here at that time as assistants. But anyway, it was wonderful. I mean, it was just, we had to go through all kinds of planning, and we didn't want it to be subsidized by the state because we wanted to do what we wanted to do. And
to provide both practical education for little people as well as spiritual formation. And of course, that would definitely be why you didn't want it to be subsidized by the state.
Right, and all the paperwork and everything, we didn't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So we weren't, and it never has become part of that. So I'm sad for now because I don't know
what's going to happen next.
Yeah. My neighbor,
opportunities.
Yeah, it changes.
Change opportunities. What do you do next?
Well, let me see. Excuse me. I'm just going to take a sip. Sorry. I'm trying to think of the next project. I've been on flower committee for a long, long time, and property committee, personnel. Women's fellowship, I was very involved with that. And the next major project was renovation of the Howard House.
Okay.
And I don't remember exactly when we got that done, but it was standing there, and we had used it for housing for Cambodian families that we had. And then I think there was a Grace Church family who had an apartment over there as well. But anyway, I chaired the committee for that, and we were able to get we were able to get money from Grace Church. And I don't remember exactly where, whether it was from endowment money or what, but we put at least $100,000 into that property over there because we had to have an architect. Everything had to be handicap accessible, bathrooms, all the doorways, everything. And because we were developing it for an interage project, you know what that is, that you have, if you had your mom or your dad and you needed to go to work, then you could drop them off for the day, and they could just come there, and they would be supervised and all kinds of activities and all that. So we did that for quite a long time. And so now that is still owned by Grace Church, but the programming there has changed because the Rutland Mental Health, which is now I think Rutland Area Community Services, has office space over there because they outgrew the underage program, so that moved out. So now they're over there with several offices like one-on-one and just foster grandparents. There's different programs that are housed over there now. So it's a mission of this church.
Wow.
Because they do not pay for the use of that facility, but they maintain the facility, which is wonderful. So it works very well back and forth, you know.
So the church blesses them with a building and property to continue to do the missions that the church has already started with immigrant housing, intergenerational services. That's quite impressive.
It's very impressive, and that's been, I think that has been a real benefit to the community in so many ways. So we still, Dan and I always take care of the landscaping over there. And we, you know, trim the shrubs and do the mulching and the weeding and all of that. So we still have that involvement, and we make kind of a walkthrough and see if everyone's happy with everything over there. So that's worked out very, very well. And there used to be another property, the Bowl House, where we have the service outside. That green space was where the Bowl House was. And so, because it was in great need of repair, and was really not a historical value, we had people from the city and historical people come and look to say, should we save this or should we put a lot of money into it so it's safe and we can utilize it? And the consensus was we should get rid of it. So we did. So that was a lot of discussion, but I think it was the right answer, you know, in the end.
So the church strives to be good stewards of all of its resources.
I think they do very well. I mean, the church was much larger then. I really want us to get back here with a Christian education program that's strong. And, you know, I taught Christian Ed, Dan did, and our daughter has, and you know, we would have 10 or 12 students in each one of the grades, each classroom. And now I wish more parents would come and bring their children. I don't know how we accomplish that. I would love to see that happen as the next effort or mission for this church. And
we will definitely have to incorporate the use of technology because the next mission of the church has to be both in person and technologically based, because that's the way of the world.
It is.
And we have to be in the world even if we're not of it, but we still have to reach out in the way that people will communicate.
Yeah. I've noticed that you have been looking for someone with IT skills to come.
Yes.
Yeah, because we do need people who are talented in that area.
Yeah.
It's not going to be me, but
but you may know someone.
Yeah.
And someone who's watching may say, "Oh, I can do that," and you call the office and let us know.
Yes.
Yeah. So Esther, if you had to think of just one, it's hard to think of just one activity or memory that you've had here at the church that still touches your heart. What would you share? What would you share?
Oh my goodness.
And I know it's hard to think of one.
Yeah, it is. I love the music programs at this church. And I love the celebration around the holiday Christmas. I love the Messiah. I don't think I've ever missed it, maybe once. So I don't know, I love the music. And that's very inspirational for me. And it's a place, I can't say just one thing.
That's okay. You can say more.
You know, a lot of our friends are not here anymore. People have left for one reason or another.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I love to come here to visit with people and update. And it's very hard to not be able to kind of hang around and visit, you know, as it is now. So I don't know, special.
Well, it sounds like definitely missing that contact fellowship time.
That's a hard thing.
And I think we're all missing that contact fellowship time.
Yeah.
So yes, that is hard.
I love decorating the church at Christmas time, and you know, it's great to see a whole group of people decide they're going to join the church. There are just lots of things like that.
Yeah.
And baptisms, and you know, my family was always very involved with the church at my little country church. And so I wish my children were more involved there, you know, and the grandchildren, but they're busy with other things. And I think the athletic stuff has taken a lot of children away from Sunday church. You know,
maybe they're just telling us that church doesn't need to only be on Sunday.
That's right. I think we should seriously consider another time. You know, hockey, they're traveling all weekend, skiing, all those sports that they love. So we need to figure that out.
Yeah.
We need to.
Because the church is in transition.
It is.
I'm the intentional interim. I'm not the settled pastor. And we're in transition. A time in which we take a look back and take a look forward and decide on
where are we going?
What is God saying to us now?
Yeah.
So,
where are we going?
If you had to just speculate right now, what is definitely, let's say, 3 things that you would want the church to move into its next future phase as a church located here in Rutland, Vermont?
Well, I'd like to see the church be community involved. And I think that's something we need to really strive to bring back, to have the ministerial staff be very involved with all the other churches, synagogues, whatever, all around this town, and, you know, share together to do a lot of that. And I loved small group things, and we used to do a lot with Women's Fellowship. We called them the circles. We'd have different circles, and people would get together, you know, in their homes or here or wherever, and you know, visit or discuss a book or whatever. So I think we need to get more interpersonal, I think. With each other, and it happens, I think, in small groups, and you know, maybe that group spreads out and does something in the community. I don't know. That's a hard question.
But thank you.
That's a hard question.
Well, thank you for just being impromptu and just saying what was on your heart at that time.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And those were wonderful responses. Community oriented.
Yeah, we need that.
Community oriented and small groups. And you're right, I happen to believe that it's important for engagement. We connect and engage.
Yeah.
I believe we engage better in small group settings. And that way you get deeper and informing people's lives and informing relationships.
Get
So,
more people involved in committees and, bring on more people who will add more ideas. And I think once you feel a need and wanted, that you want to be here, you want to be a part of this. So,
Wonderful, wonderful.
effort, isn't it?
So, your final word to the rest of Grace Church and to the community, what would that word be, especially for people of Grace during this time that we're in transition? What's your encouraging word for our transitional time for the people of Grace?
Let's see. I just guess hope. We never give up hope, and we keep on working toward that, whatever that direction is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's just like this coronavirus.
Yeah.
We have to keep planning for tomorrow and the next day and the next day, because we can't give up. We can't think that, we're not going to be able to get through this. We have to keep hope, I think. Yeah.
Thank you, Esther.
You're welcome.
Thank
This is
you.
fun. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, thank you
I'm
very
so
much.
glad.
I'm glad to be here too.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. See, we heard another Tell Me the Stories of Grace. And today we heard the stories of grace from Esther Swett. And she says, reminding all of you to continue the hope, continue planning for tomorrow. I believe she would also say that we don't operate out of fear, because that's not what God has given us. So we thank you again for another Midweek Connection. I encourage you to come and join and be a guest. And remember, God loves you, is always with us. Continue the hope. God bless you. Bye-bye.